The New York Jets have added 2 new players, and one is very interesting. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be talking about the 2 new additions that the New York Jets have made to the defensive line room. As we all know, the New York Jets have released defensive lineman Isaiah Mack after having an absolutely abysmal Hall of Fame game, someone who lost his job, not to anyone in particular, but just because he couldn't hang. And one of the things that I mentioned during my Hall of Fame game review video is the fact that the interior of the defensive line depth outside of the top 4 guys, and even then I'm not really so comfortable on Solomon Thomas, though that depth wasn't really all that great, and we saw that from the Hall of Fame game, that if we ever got any injury and any of those guys needed to get called up, we better hope to God that Michael Clemens and JFM can play full-time inside, because if not, they just wouldn't have an opportunity to create any pressure up the middle anymore. And so the New York Jets addressed this. We know that the priority of the defensive side of the ball is always going to be the defensive line. So the New York Jets went out and brought in some competitions, a camp body and defensive tackle, Bruce Hector. Now, I don't have a ton of information on Bruce Hector. He's played in a couple of different spots, has a wildly unspectacular type of year, but tends to fit the attacking style that Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich like in this defense. And they might think that maybe they can pull something out of him, and maybe he might be a good camp body in terms of turning him into something that could be productive for this team. But the more interesting piece is that the New York Jets added defensive end Pita Turpin. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that last name very well, but let's just call him PT. And the interesting part of PT is as an edge rusher and really as an outside linebacker, he really fits an interesting skill set. Think of him a la the Bryce Huff, Will McDonald currently kind of role, a pure pass rusher. He doesn't really have the ability or the skill set to be a run-stopping edge outside linebacker, but as the former XFL Defensive Player of the Year in their previous season, we saw a lot of tape from Peta saying that he has a NFL caliber skill set when it comes to the pass rush, especially in a limited role. This is a really interesting signing because this might lean towards the idea that Michael Clemens is going to play more inside than outside. This does create competition in the edge room, and ultimately having Peta be able to sit on the team, be on the practice squad, and sit behind a guy like Will McDonald and Bryce Huff, who have a very similar skill set to him right now, and to be able to learn really gives us the opportunity to build into a pipeline the next Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is going to play himself out of a contract with the New York Jets. We're not going to be able to keep Bryce Huff on the New York Jets next year because of the contract that he's going to be warranted on the free market. And that's absolutely fine. We have depth on the defensive line, but you want to have a pipeline built in. And Peta has the opportunity with his skill set and with our defensive line coaches to fill that role, not this year, but next year. I love this move. It fills a really interesting it gives us a really interesting perspective on what Joe Douglas is doing building this team. It's not just about the short term. It's not just about what can we do this year. It's combining, hey, we have a 53-man roster, and I think it's like 17 players that you can fit on the practice squad. What can we do for this team in the short term and the long term? Turn a short window into a massively long window of success for the New York Jets. You love to see it. Let me know what you guys think about our new signings on the defensive line room. And last but not least, go Jets.